everybody, this is Jeff with Island Hopper TV, and today I'm here with Dave in Vietnam on Instagram. We're in Hanoi and we're going to talk about budget travel and how to save money when you come to Vietnam all across the country. So Dave here has got all the expertise that you're going to possibly need. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, I'm Dave in Vietnam, the owner of Bondi Backpackers in Nha Trang. That's in the south central of Vietnam. Look what we've just discovered. Banh Mi King. I don't know where they got the name from. It reminds me of another large chain. Anyway, apparently it's a registered trademark, so I guess they've got nothing to worry about. But I've been asked, how can we save money on our very inexpensive backpacker budget? Well, to begin with, food. You have 3 meals a day. Now, if it has a door, you pay more. That's one of my theories, of course, but if you want to save money, eat what the locals eat. For example, you can see over there in that direction, you got a couple of ladies over there out on the street and little plastic stools. And why don't we go and have a look and see what they're selling?
Something with the baby.
That's grandma.
That's grandma.
People don't actually start parenting here until they become grandparents.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So
all the parenting's done by the grandparents. Xin chào. This one.
Oh, jackfruit.
Mm.
Đây gọi là mít.
Meat.
Mít.
Okay.
Mít Vietnam.
Meat. Okay. In English we say jackfruit, but I don't know the Vietnamese. Bao nhiêu một kilo?
100 một hộp này cân 1.
So about 100,000 a kilo, which is about $4.
Okay.
Ngon
So
lắm.
ngon nam, which means ngon. That's N-G-O-N. Ngon. Lam means very delicious.
Yes.
Very delicious. We believe you.
Ở nước ngoài có không? Ở nước ngoài có mít này không?
Oh, okay, okay. She's saying this is in season at the moment, so get it now before it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
Anyway, it looks like there's a lot of fruit and veggies for sale on this street. In fact,
What'd she say?
too quickly. Oh, she's having a laugh with the other woman there, a little plastic seat. Oh, now what do we got here? Here's an interesting dish. So it looks like we've got fried up shrimp, which they call tom. Ban tom. So, or in the north they say bang tom.
Okay.
Bang tom. Bang basically means like a bread, anything to do with bread. So bang khao is like a cake, a sweet cake. Banh mi is like a bread roll. Bang tom means like a fried bread with shrimp in it.
And what is that, egg?
Oh, that's a little quail egg, a little boiled quail egg.
Oh my gosh.
They're actually just basically exactly the same as you would have with a chicken egg. No difference whatsoever.
How much is one of those cost?
Xin lỗi chị, bao nhiêu một cái?
12.000 ạ.
12.000. That's 12,000, which is about 50 cents basically.
Wow.
Xin mời thưởng thức.
We're okay with this. Ăn rồi.
Hẹn chiều quay lại.
Okay, come south. What about
Đặc sản Hà Nội ạ.
yeah? So she's saying only in Hanoi can you basically get this type of food.
Bánh gối, bánh tôm.
Bang tom. You won't find this type of dish anywhere else in the country.
So anywhere else in the world, then it's unique.
Well, you might find it in a little shop in Cabramatta in Sydney or Little Saigon in Los Angeles.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But it all depends on where the person came from. In Vietnam, it's an interesting society, particularly when it comes to stimulants. The males tend to drink beer, drink wine, which is brewed rice, alcohol, but the old women have their own drug, which is betel nut. And the betel nut is made up of this particular betel nut here. There's a particular type of leaf and then lime. And they chew on it and it turns their mouth and their teeth into a sort of reddish colour. And apparently it's a sort of quite a stimulant, a little bit like tobacco. same but different, as they say in this part of the world. But it's only the old women that use it. In fact, the young women, they don't want to go near it because obviously they like the colour of their teeth. It does stain your teeth, so. Okay, now this is an interesting one. In English, beef steak. In Vietnamese, bit tech, which actually sounds a bit like beef steak. So it's like the English, a bastardization of the English word, beef steak. In Vietnamese, bit tech. Think about it for a moment. But essentially it's just some steak or a bit of meat, an egg fried up with some vegetables in a sizzling cast iron plate. And there you go.
So it's like beef steak with a Vietnamese accent.
Essentially, yes, it actually was a French influence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but it's over for. At the moment, we're wondering how we're going to get to Hoang Kiem Lake. The Say Om in Vietnam is a motorbike taxi. It actually translates literally as XE, say, and Om, which means to hug someone. Karaoke Om there, well, that's something completely different. That's another, that's a little bit naughty. But anyway, a Say Om just means to have a motorbike taxi. But you see them on every street corner, basically hanging around, but not quite as much anymore, because what has actually taken over is the Southeast Asian version of Uber, which is called Grab. So if you have the Grab app, you simply just go on the Grab app, and with the internet, you know, GPS, blah blah blah, before you know it, you've got a driver taking you to a destination at a set price, which is actually ridiculously cheap. In fact, you can see that guy over there at the moment with a green jacket on. He's a Grab rider. So you have Grab bike, you have Grab car, you have many different levels of Grab. But on a day like today, when it's not raining, if I don't have lots of luggage, I'll get the Grab bike. So for example, today I travelled about 1.5 kilometres for 14,000 dong, which is like 60 cents. In fact, I just gave the guy 20, you know, rounded up, why not? It's still under $1 for a ride from one part of the city to the other, so very cheap.
How about getting around Vietnam? Bus, airplane, and or train? What do you have this?
Well, train is nice because you got a bathroom on board, and if you want to have a couple of you know, drinks or whatnot, of course you can use the bathroom, plus you can get a bed or a seat that's quite comfortable. The bus is the cheapest, the overnight buses, but of course if you need to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, you might get stuck. But I like to fly, to be honest. I've been here a long time, and the flights with airlines such as Vietjet are so ridiculously cheap. I mean, we're looking at $28 at the moment to fly from, say, Nha Trang to Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, which is incredibly cheap. I mean, I've got flights for as low as $15. I mean, that's insane. Accommodation. Well, you're in one of the cheapest countries in the world. In fact, whenever I leave Vietnam, I think, bugger, wherever I'm going is going to be more expensive, right? Well, thankfully we're in Vietnam at the moment, so we can get accommodation in this city. Where are we at the moment? Hanoi, city in the bend of the river. We get accommodation from $3, and that includes an egg and a baguette and a little sip of coffee in the morning. Supersonic coffee, by the way. That was left by the French. Coffee and baguettes. The Vietnamese love their coffee and baguettes. But you can get accommodation in this city from $3 up to really whatever you want to spend. You can stay at the Sofitel for a couple of $100, or you can find a hostel bed for $3, $5, $7. It's up to you. How many beds are in the dorm, what sort of amenities, etc.
How about a high-end hostel? What's like if I wanted to get a stay at a hostel to be a part of the to meet people, but I wanted my own private room with my own bathroom.
You're looking, well, at Bondi Backpackers in Nha Trang. In the low season, we'll go probably about $20 US. In the high season, that'll go up to around about $35 US.
Okay.
So that's yeah. I mean, obviously it's supply and demand. And it's Dave in Vietnam. And I just wanted to point out something in Hanoi, and that is this Mosaic mural across the road. That is in fact a dike. It's a levee to protect the city, Hanoi, city in the bend of the river, which means obviously they have flooding. But each school in Hanoi was given a section, and this was in the year 2010, which was actually the 1,000 year anniversary of Hanoi. And the mural itself extends for many, many, many kilometres, from all the way down there to all the way up there. And it's actually in the Guinness World Book of Records, so good on you, Hanoi. Yeah, so when you come to any place in the world with a different language, it's actually quite nice to be able to speak just at least a few words. Now, Vietnamese is a tricky language. It's a tonal language. There's 6 tones, and I'm going to teach you just a few words. The first is Xin Chao, which basically means hello. So commit a sin, ciao, like you know, you're in Italy. Xin Chao means hello. Thank you is gum earn. All right, now think of chewing gum, earn money in an Australian accent. Gum earn means thank you. Also, what's actually pretty funny is the locals here like to say oh my god all the time, particularly if they're bargaining over something. So they say choi oi, which means oh my god. And now you can say that in many tones, of course, depending on what you're talking, like choi oi, like, you know, surprised, or choi oi, like a bit angry, you know, or choi oi, that's expensive. What is expensive? Takwa, or actually in the south, makwa. It also, we have how are you, which is qua com, which means happy, no. Qua, qua means yes, yes, I'm happy. So there you have it. We have Xin Chao, hello, gum earn, thank you, qua com, how are you going, and joy, oi, oh my god.
Can I get a bonus one?
A bonus one. Oh, beer, very important. Bia, B-I-A.
How do I say how much?
How much? Bao New.
Okay.
Bao New. So you walk up to the vendor, you say, in fact, anyone younger than you is called M. That's why I'm terrible. I forget everyone's name. Not to mention everyone in the name. I think 60% of Vietnamese have the same surname anyway. Nguyen, N-G-U-Y-E-N. Think of like Win, like W-I-N. Win. That's how you pronounce it. It's not Nguyen, it's Win. But you would say, Sin Loi M, excuse me M, how much, bao nhiêu, for the beer? And she says, oh, it's $5 or 100,000. You say, Choi oi, tak qua? And she'll say, kom tak, kom tak. And you say, oh, no, no, no. She says, okay, okay, okay. Maybe I'll make it a bit more, less expensive. So it's a good way to bargain.
So a lot of you guys have been asking, what's the best way to go about getting the visa? Because each country is different. And Dave here has some tips for you.
Okay, so every country is different. For example, if you're from Russia or Great Britain, you get 15 days visa-free, stamp you in on arrival, but don't overstay that 15 days or you'll be in trouble. If you're from Australia, for example, they haven't quite forgiven us for the war yet. You have to apply for a visa. It costs, depending on how long you stay. I'm actually married, so I've got a 5-year visa, which cost me actually about $10, which is pretty cool. But then I had to get married and stay here for the rest of my life, you know. So, but I mean, you got to be committed for that sort of visa, obviously. But otherwise, you can go onto the government website. You can apply for the visa online. You pay some money, and then when you arrive in Vietnam at the airport, we'd better get out of the way of this truck here. You go to the visa on arrival line, you pay a bit more money. It's good to have US dollars when you arrive. US dollars are always good. Like I mentioned before, it's actually the most widely accepted currency in heaven, according to the Vietnamese. So that's why they burn the $100 bills. But have some American money on hand. In fact, try to have smaller denominations. You know, in fact, what I find interesting is when people come to Vietnam, they've got this thing about having small money. They go, oh, I got to get rid of this small money all the time. It's like, you want the small money because if things here aren't cheap. So if you've got the $500,000 dong, how much is that worth? About $22. You know, they think, oh, that's great, but no one can change it. So it's actually good to have the small money. So actually, if someone wants to pay me at Bondi Backpackers in Nha Trang, we're very happy to take all of the small money that you've got because that means we've got change.
And I just wanted to add, my price to get the visa, the approval letter, was $27 on the website, and that was for the 24-hour version. If you wanted to save a little bit of money, you get the 7-day version. I think that was like $21. And if you wanted the 4-hour approval letter, so say you're in Cambodia and you want to come over here really quickly and you need to get the approval letter, it's like $41. And then they charged me at the airport for a picture because I didn't have a picture, so I had to pay them in US dollars, and I also had to pay some processing fee at the airport for the visa to get put into my passport. So he's right, bring US dollars if you have them, and about 50 US dollars at the airport on top of the approval letters, $21 or $41, whatever you paid.
It does sound like a little bit of money, but don't forget, once you get here, everything's just so cheap. So, you know, a little bit of money to arrive in the country, but then once you get here, hey, you're in the cheapest country in the world, in my opinion. Why don't we go and get a 50 cent or $1 beer, eh? Ready, 1, 2, 3. So here we are at a Vietnamese pagoda, just across the road there. Now, Buddhism is, I guess you could say, the main religion in Vietnam after ancestral worship. Now, there's two major forms of Buddhism. You have Mahayana Buddhism, which is Chinese Buddhism, which is new improved Buddhism. They have 7 Buddhas in Vietnam. And then you have Theravada Buddhism, which is the original Buddhism, which you find in countries like Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, and which originated in India. In fact, all Buddhism originated in India. Who was Buddha? He was a prince. In fact, he was a very rich dude who wasn't very happy with his life and decided to go wandering around, and eventually sat underneath a Bodhi tree and became enlightened. And what he teaches is basically just how to be happy. So technically Buddhism is not a religion because Buddha was just a dude, you know, who seemed very smart and was able to tell people how you will essentially be happier in life. And one of his main philosophies was that the more you have, the more you have to lose. So, you know, if you've got everything in the world, you actually get quite worried about losing it. Whereas if you got nothing to lose, well, hey, you know, you don't have to worry about security, getting robbed, all that sort of thing, putting on too much weight, I guess. But as you can see by this pagoda over here, has the Chinese writing. And in fact, it looks very Chinese, which of course it is. It's Chinese Buddhism. But of course, the Vietnamese have added a Buddha. So they have 8 Buddhas in Vietnam. Wow, technically 7, but there's a woman, and so they call her the Lady of Mercy, and she is, I guess, the Vietnamese Buddha. So that's Vietnamese Buddhism for you.
Dave, you did promise us that you were going to show some of the selection of beer and the pricing more up close and personal.
Hanoi, which is 12,000 for cop. No, I don't like beer, Hanoi. How about we got Hanoi bottled beer, 18,000. Remember, 23,000 is $1.
How about Tiger beer?
Tiger beer, Tiger back, Silver Tiger, 24. Blue Tiger, 24. HA Tiger. Yeah, we'll sit here, no problem at all. Come on, there you go. And Heineken, of course. And there's a couple of new brands that have just come out, like Hanoi Bold. This is actually the low carb Tiger. Can we sit here?
Low carb Tiger.
Oh, there we go. Oh,
yeah. Ooh, yeah.
Oh, MO. So I've been asked about accommodation and also travel activities, and look, in my opinion, if you want to see the country in a limited time, and know what basically how much it's going to cost you, well, go with a tour group. In fact, if you haven't got anyone to travel with, hey, suddenly you got a group of new friends. There's many companies available. I've worked for a couple, Intrepid Travel, G Adventures. I've worked with many other companies, for example, you know, for around about $100 a day, so $1,000, depending on the time of year, of course, for tours, say from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City. You'll get your accommodation, you'll have your some of the activities included, plus you've got someone to show you around, breakfast, transportation, and basically you don't have to think. So, you know, you arrive in a city, you go straight to your hotel, there's your hotel key, and your tour guide says, look, be back in reception at, you know, whatever, 1 o'clock, and I'm going to take you on a city tour, show you around, give you the lay of the land, and then you'll have some free time before I take you out for dinner. So some people knock tours and say, look, no, it's not for me. I like to discover things for myself, but some people like tours because not everyone has the luxury of a year off, or some people just like to go to a resort and hang out for 2 weeks. Some people like to see as much as possible in 2 weeks. So, I mean, we're all different, and there's a tour to suit everyone, or if that's not your thing, then, you know, do it on your own.
So on one of those 10-day tours, you would see Ha Long Bay?
Well, for example, there's a tour running tonight with G Adventures, which is Hanoi tonight. Tomorrow we go to Ha Long Bay. We have a night on the boat in Ha Long Bay, so we'll do some kayaking and see some, you know, interesting caves and stuff like that. Then we'll come back to by bus to Hanoi. We'll take the overnight train to Hue, the imperial capital. We'll spend the day in Hue, checking out, you know, the palace and the tombs, and some cool things like a coliseum hidden away in the back streets of Hue, where tigers and elephants used to fight. Then the next day we'll take a bus from Hue over the Hai Van Pass, very scenic, to Hoi An. Hoi An is a very beautiful place that was actually not bombed during the war due to its irrelevance as a sort of a place during the war. I don't know. It actually was a port in the day, and it silted up, used to flood all the time. So they moved the major port to Da Nang, which was where the American war was actually basically fought from. So Hoi An has retained this ancient architecture, which makes it a really lovely village where people like to visit. So we'll spend 3 nights there. We'll do a noodle class, see how noodles are made. We'll also we will probably do a bicycle tour. Oh, and they have tailor shops. People like to have tailor-made clothing and make their own shoes and get a leather handbag made or whatever, some silver jewelry. And then we fly from, we go back to Da Nang and then fly to Ho Chi Minh City, formerly known as Saigon. In fact, District 1 still is Saigon, so it's referred to, the train station is Saigon train station, the airport is SGN Saigon. So the two names actually both exist in unison. And yeah, then that's the end of our 10-day tour in Vietnam. So for some people, tours are the way to go. Why not?
So for $1,000 for 10 days.
That's basically it. You know, it doesn't include all your meals, and obviously if you're a big shopper, it'll cost you more, but it really just depends on how much stuff you want to buy and how much stuff you want to eat. Someone just asked me about, well actually I brought it up, dehydration. I just had a little wee-wee before, and I noticed that my urine was very yellow, which means I'm dehydrated. It can also be from vitamin B, but not at that type of yellow. So I've just got myself a bottle of water, which I will now consume. And anyway, it's just good to remember when you are traveling in the tropics, particularly if you have a few alcoholic drinks, you're walking around, you're sweating a lot, you got to make sure you're hydrated. I actually once drank way too much one night. It was, you know, 40 degrees or over 100 in American, and I thought, gosh, am I having a heart attack? Am I having a stroke? What's going on here? I admitted myself to the International Hospital. They put me on a drip, they did ECGs, they took blood tests, and about an hour later, after the drip had taken effect and rehydrated my body, guess what? I felt great. And then they hit me with a $1,000 bill, of course. Now, if I'd have just gone to a little supermarket, bought myself 2 or 3 isotonic drinks, rehydrated myself, or maybe not just drank so much alcohol in the first place, I could have saved myself a lot of money. So that's a good tip for being in particularly tropical countries. So remember, drink your water. Got one last thing to talk about, which is nightlife. Now, every city in Vietnam has its own nightlife. Some cities have a lot more nightlife than others. We are in the city of Hanoi at the moment. Now, Hanoi is the center of government. It's a great city. It's chaotic, it's crazy, but it actually doesn't have the best nightlife in the country, in my honest opinion. It's they have a rule here at the moment where everything has to shut by 12 o'clock. So there may be some underground clubs, but you know, they have to be top secret. But the police are being told to shut everything down at midnight here. If you're really looking for the nightlife, you want to go to Ho Chi Minh City, formerly known as Saigon. That's a 24-hour city. Discos, nightclubs, just bars, open 24 hours, particularly in the Pham Ngu Lao area, the Bu Vien District 1. Nha Trang in southern Vietnam, where I happen to live, where we have Bondi backpackers, it's also a party city. We have a lot of nightclubs that are open pretty late, until 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or even 5 a.m. And we got bars that are open 24 hours as well. Da Nang has a nightlife as well, as does Hoi An. But again, you're probably not 24 hours there. I think perhaps 2 o'clock in the morning, depending on what district you're in. And the city of Hue has a nightlife as well. There's a couple of clubs there, and then it's pretty happening as well, but it's not all night. I would say most of the clubs will be shut by 3, but there might be the occasional club that's open till 5 a.m, if you know what I mean. Anyway, this is Dave in Vietnam signing out. It's been great to get to know you, and if you want to check out my Instagram, Dave in Vietnam, hey, come over to Vietnam and say Xin Chào.
Xin chào. How do you say goodbye in Vietnamese?
Tạm biệt.
Tạm biệt.